Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Disney Cruise Line Show, a DIS Unlimited podcast. I am your captain of this cruise through conversation, Rhino. What is a captain without his co-captain? So joining me today, we have Dreams Unlimited travel agent Elaine Edwards.
Hi, friends.
Dreams Unlimited travel agent Chris Vorbeck.
Ahoy.
And theme park correspondent Chloe Ferreira.
Ahoy.
Welcome aboard, everyone. This and everything that we do here is brought to you by Dreams Unlimited Travel. They are experts at helping you plan the perfect cruise vacation. When you book with them, it costs you nothing extra on your trip, and you help support the channel and all the content that we produce here. And even better than that is you can receive up to $1,000 shipboard credit as well as a cruise gift basket for any cruise you book through Dreams Unlimited Travel. Not just Disney Cruise Line. Remember that. That's right. I'm saying it again. Holy ship. What a deal. I feel like it's in like Galaxy Quest where it's like, by Grabthaw's hammer, what a savings. Sorry, that was a very, very specific joke. But hello, everybody. Hello. Thank you for being here. Today, we are going to do another question and answer show that Elaine put together. She is the captain of our of this conversation that all started on the DCL fan Facebook page, where she put out a call for everyone's like questions. And we're here, the Q's, and we're here to give you the A's.
That's right.
Not the Oakland A's. They're not there anymore. But we're going to give you some answers instead. God, that was a terrible joke. Elaine, take hold of this ship before I sink it. Yeah.
All right. Before we go too far off course, we are going to get back on track here. So if you have not visited us yet on Facebook, you can go to DCL Fan. We have a great group there where we talk all about Disney cruise planning. I'm in there every day with lots of questions and answers. People post pictures and trip reports and news and all that fun stuff. So we like to do these Q&A shows every couple of months so that we can know like what you guys want to tell us and answer your questions. So from Nicole, she is sailing out of Fort Lauderdale and wants to know, is there a benefit to taking Disney transportation to the port? Her main goal is to get on the ship quicker, and she is not worried about the cost. And truly, this could be said for any of the ports.
Well, I was going to say, what is the Disney transportation that is offered for the Fort Lauderdale?
So if you're
port.
If you're flying in the day of, you can take it, which we don't recommend. Don't do it. Please don't do it. But if you are, you can take transportation from the airport to the port.
A bus?
It's a bus, yeah. And if you're staying at one of the hotels connected, if you added it, one of the Disney hotels that they work with, there are two of them at Fort Lauderdale right now, you can also get transportation from those hotels. One of the hotels is very, very close. I mean, like really close. Like you can see the ship from the hotel. The other one is a little farther. It's on the beach. But it's still only one of the things that I really like about Fort Lauderdale as a port is there's no hour-long drive. It's all right there. It's very contained. You can get from the Brightline train station if you're doing that. Everything's about a 5 to maybe 10, 15-minute ride at best, or at worst, whichever way you're thinking about it. It's very, very easy to get around. So do you need Disney Cruise Line transportation to get to the port? No, you don't. If you want to get an earlier port arrival time, you certainly can take Disney Cruise Line, and then, of course, your port arrival time is whatever time the bus gets you there. So that can be an advantage. Remember, port arrival time is not the same as boarding time. Those are two different things. That just may mean you're waiting around at the port rather than waiting around in your hotel or something like that. So it's really up to you. The transportation, because it is so accessible, is less expensive than it is from if you're doing a Port Canaveral cruise. So it varies a little bit, but it's about $25, I'd say. We can get you specifics when we add it to your cruise. It is nice and easy when you get off the ship to take it to the airport, because then you just scoot right out and boom, you're there. You're not having to say, oh, where's my Uber, Lyft, my rideshare thing or something like that.
Do they take care of your luggage?
They
Or-
put it on the bus, and then you get to the airport,
Correct.
and they unload it from the bus, and then you take it in. So it doesn't
Okay.
go from your stateroom to your
To the
plane.
airport,
No.
right?
Okay.
You
They did
still have
used to do
handle
that.
it.
They haven't brought that back post-COVID, where you could just you saw it on the night before you got off the ship, and then they shipped it straight off to the airport. That was so delightful.
Yeah, they don't
They
do
haven't
that
done
anymore.
that for a
Other
while.
cruise lines are still doing that.
Yeah.
Disney's not doing it.
Would be very nice to have them bring that back. Hey, Disney. So it really depends on where you're staying. There are a bunch of factors. Again, your agent would be happy to help you with those different factors. I don't imagine you're going to get onto the ship any faster by taking Disney Cruise Line transportation. Would just be my guess if I had to predict.
It
But
literally all comes down to what is your boarding group number, and you get that when you do your online check-in. So I have a lot of people that think that driving is going to be faster, and they're going to get on the ship earlier because they're going to get to the port 2 hours before it opens. No, it doesn't have anything to do with that.
Yeah.
Do not get to the port before it opens. You're causing yourself and the workers a headache. So
I was gonna say, I was like, especially if you're going to Fort Lauderdale, I was like,
Yeah.
from Orlando, I was like, I can't imagine driving is faster than taking the train. I mean, it's probably, if anything, it's like the same, but I don't know. I feel like there's less. I don't want to jinx it for anybody, but I feel like there's less opportunity for disruption
right.
by taking a train than taking a bus. That's just me. Maybe I'm crazy. I don't know.
Okay.
as I say, it's Fort Lauderdale. And by the way, if you haven't been to the Fort Lauderdale port, it is a Disney Cruise Line port at Fort Lauderdale. It's very fun. The inside has a Finding Nemo theme. It's a fun port. So go and enjoy and have a great time. You will get on the ship. Promise.
Take us away, Elaine. Next question.
Yes. So our next question comes from Holly. She wants to go over the process of renting a scooter for a Disney cruise. She wants the whole process. She is traveling with her senior parents, and they're worried that it's going to be difficult because her dad needs a scooter to get around. So I am going to tell you what I personally do for my clients when they have this question, and then we can kind of expand from there because there's options. The first thing that I do is I talk to special services for Disney Cruise Line and tell them what port they're selling out of and ask them who is their preferred company that they are currently working with from that port. And the answer changes because there are some companies that can maybe take them on the ship. There are some companies that meet you at the port. There are, different companies do different things. And they will be able to tell you, like, yeah, we really like working with this specific company, or, we don't really like this company, that kind of thing. So that's the first step that I take as far as telling my clients that if they're going to rent a scooter or a wheelchair. I know that Chris looked up some of the local options available as well.
Yeah, I actually reached out to one of them and talked to them for a little bit because I was curious about this. I will say it also depends on the person's mobility. Can they get themselves? You don't want the scooter to be on board already if they can't walk onto the ship. So they have different ways, and they will work with you to make sure. As I say, it will vary on port and on cruise line. But there are some situations where they will be able to put your scooter right in the stateroom, so you'll get into your stateroom and it's there waiting for you. That sounds awfully nice to me. And as I say, I reached out to Scootaround, which is one of the companies that Disney Cruise Line uses in Port Canaveral, and they said they will work with you to try and make sure that everything works and that you're safe. The big things, I think, and we're going to touch on this with strollers in a minute, but the big thing is these are either stored in your stateroom or they have a place on the ship where you can store them. They can't be just stashed in hallways. As you may know, the hallways on Disney ships, on any ship, are not that big, so you can't have people, and they're also emergency exits. So you can't make sure you understand that. They noted that there are situations where you don't need to have an accessible stateroom in order to fit the scooter, that it folds up in certain ways and is very easy to deal with. And they also noted that they can do things like oxygen, or if you need a specific bed, some people need a therapeutic bed, they can do those things as well. So there's a lot of opportunities and possibilities. Work with your agent. Your agent, as you say, we check with Disney first to see what the situation is and how it's going to work and make sure to get the best situation for you.
And you do need to let Disney know if you do plan on bringing any medical equipment,
Right.
scooter, wheelchair, or any other medical equipment. You do need to have that noted to your stateroom. Especially, I have some people that they want to put 2 scooters in their room,
Right.
and that may not be approved by Disney to
Yep.
be able to do that. I've been in that conversation where they had to really look at the room layout and decide if they were going to allow the guests to bring 2 scooters, or if we needed to move to a different stateroom that would allow that kind of thing. I also want to talk about using wheelchairs at the port for embarkation. We have a lot of people that maybe they don't need something on board, but they are worried about getting someone onto the ship for embarkation. And Disney is very, very, very strict about this. This is not a situation where they will have a wheelchair and they will put the person on the ship and they'll skip the line and you have this wheelchair and you have it for... No, it's not like this at all. When you get to the port, there are wheelchairs available. Disney Cruise Line is not going to push the person. So you have to have somebody in your party pushing the party member in the wheelchair. And that also means managing all of the luggage and anything else that you have at the same time. When you get, and that is to push them up the gangplank onto the ship. Then the wheelchair gets turned over because they need to take it back down to the port for other people. So it is not an all access, it's not skipping the line, there's nothing like that. That is something that comes up a lot with my clients, so I just wanted to kind of put that out there so you can kind of plan ahead for that kind of thing.
There are also rules and restrictions. Most of the scooters you can take off the ship. There are specific rules around some ports. You just can't do it. And we can work, again, we would work with Disney Cruise Line to find out what those are and how they work and to make sure, but if some situations you have to tender and you may not be able to do a scooter in that situation. Things like that. We would find out that stuff for you to make sure you're prepared, but just be aware. In general, you can take the scooter off the ship if Disney Cruise Line allows it and it's feasible, so...
I guess I have a question jumping off that, and I know there's sort of a similar question coming up about like strollers and stuff. But what happens with that on like Castaway Cay or like Lighthouse Point? What's the accessibility in terms of that?
So they do have sand wheelchairs available. I know that they have them on Castaway Cay. Lighthouse Point, I'm not sure if they're there yet.
I haven't seen them on Lighthouse either time that I was on Lighthouse. I didn't see them yet.
So they may not be there yet. I know that Lighthouse is very... it is a lot more accessible, I feel like, because of all of the raised boardwalks that they have. Mm-hmm. I'm not in that position. I've not traveled with somebody in that position, so I honestly don't know the process. I know a lot of people are very worried about the walk down the pier on Lighthouse, and we've discussed this on some of our other shows, that if you have a mobility issue, that maybe you don't need a scooter, you don't need a wheelchair, anything like that, but just getting down that walk is an issue, that you need to go to guest services before you ever dock at Lighthouse. Tell them, they will put you on a list, they will tell you a meeting time and a place, usually it's one of the lounges, and you will wait there until it is your turn, and then they will take you on a golf cart down the pier. It is not for your entire family. It is for the one person that needs it. I know that when we went, that John and Kevin were talking about this, because Kevin uses a scooter, that trolleys, buses, shuttles, whatever they are, that after you are on the, what are they called?
Trams.
Trams.
No,
I had every word
down the,
in my head except for tram.
the thing to the port, thing to the pier, down the pier, or the thing to
No, that are taking you to the beach.
Yeah, there's a tram,
That
yep.
they could not load his scooter onto that to take him to the beach.
They've fixed that since.
Right,
That was a
that's what I
first
had
visit, not quite worked out problem, but they've fixed that since. They now do. It can only hold a couple scooters, so you may have to wait, but they've addressed that. So.
Yeah. So the really, 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 I mean, the true answer to all of this is you really need to look at what are the needs that the people in your party have. Mm-hmm. Look at where the places that you are visiting. And then we kind of go from there, and we kind of figure out an action plan for you. So
perfect. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I know I hijacked Holly's.
You have to think about your excursions that you're booking as well.
Correct.
Because there are several excursions that you can book that are specifically, they can load up wheelchairs onto the buses that they're taking and things like that. But there's a lot of excursions that you can't. And if you go on the Disney Cruise Line website and you see the excursions for each port, it will actually tell you if they are accessible or not, what the level of effort you have to put into them, all that kind of thing.
And it will actually say whether you need to be able to get out of your wheelchair on your own. It will have it's relatively detailed on there.
And definitely
and
like scroll all the way down
Right.
and expand all of the things because there's a lot of information down there.
And if you have questions, definitely let us know and we can find out that information. So
Perfect. Well, hit us with another one.
All right. So Dave says, any tips on sailing out of Southampton, UK on DCL would be appreciated.
Tuesday, isn't it? I hate myself. Sorry. Okay.
I think have any of us sailed out of Southampton?
I have not. Have you?
So I sailed out of Dover.
Okay.
Before they switched, they used to sail out of Dover, and they now do out of Southampton. And it's funny, I was just this morning answering, hi Tim, answering questions for my client about Southampton because he's doing so jealous, he's doing all across the pond on the Disney Dream coming up in a couple weeks. And it's a big port. Just letting you know. I mean, there are a bunch of places where ships can dock at Southampton. So the first thing that I would tell you is make sure you know which part of the port you're going to because there are a bunch of different spaces. And I also think there are a bunch of ways to get there. So be thinking about that too. You can take a train. That to me sounds because from what I understand, the train station is a little bit of a distance and carrying all my bags and everything, that doesn't sound fun to me. But there are a bunch of ways to get down there. So it's complex. When we left
we'll have to do some future shows about
different ports.
Europe and how you are navigating the ports and the hotels and transfers. We will put that on the list for future shows, and we'll get all of the answers to all of the questions.
So I will tell you, when we sailed out of Dover, we were doing we did a Norway cruise, and our bus driver just didn't show up. And so we were waiting around, and it's one of these situations where I was very happy that I was on Disney transportation because they actually held the ship for us because we hadn't gotten there yet, and refunded us the price of the transportation, by the way. But it was still a little stressful for me because I was like, okay, we're gonna make it, and so. It's one of the reasons why I use Disney Cruise Line transportation because then I know I'm in that bubble. They're going to make sure and take care of me. They aren't leaving without me. So,
perfect.
Okay. So for our next question, Anna asks, "What is your favorite DCL excursions?" Now, we could talk for 3 hours about excursions. I can tell you that right now because there are tons of them, and we have a lot of shows that we actually talk about one specific port and all of the excursions and that kind of thing. So we're not going to do that. We are going to, each person gets one excursion that is their favorite that they get to talk about.
But so I have a question that will maybe like further expand on this because I'm like, are there are we talking on like the normal like Caribbean cruises?
Anything.
Because I feel like those are the most popular.
Any ship, any port, because she
Most
wasn't
frequented, I should say.
specific. So any ship, any port, anything, offered or not, whatever. I'm going to go first so that you don't take mine, because I could see that you might. So I am going to go first because this lives as truly the core memory.
If you take mine,
That's why I said I'm going to go first.
Okay.
I said I'm going to go first. You can still say it.
Go ahead, say it.
Both people can have the same answer. But
I know what it's going to be.
the core memory in my life that I will never forget is on our Alaska sailing that I had the pleasure of Rhino's company on. We did an excursion on Glacier Day where the ship is sitting in the middle of the ocean and they bring up a tiny little boat to the ship and you get on the tiny little boat and the tiny little boat takes you all the way up to the glacier. And this was a 3-hour long excursion and you went all the way up to the glacier and I would say we were probably there for an hour and a half, and that was amazing in itself. On top of afterwards, they took us around and showed us different like waterfalls. We found different animals, that kind of thing. And it was truly like, it was cold, it was rainy, it was windy, and I didn't care. I didn't notice any of it because I was like, this is not real. Life is not real.
Yeah.
Like it was truly like I talk about it all the time because it was just one of those things that's like, I am very thankful I got to experience this. It was truly like a once-in-a-lifetime experience, and I will never forget it. And I got to hang out with Rhino the whole time.
Well, and my favorite part of that was the glacier margaritas because
Glacieritas.
it was just so cool. And I told Elaine the second they were like, "Oh, we're pulling in the ice to make," and I was like, we're getting this, right? Because like, when else in our entire lives are we going to be able to be like, we had a drink made from this like glacier ice? And Elaine is right. Like it was wet, it was rainy, it was cold, but actually I don't think I would change the weather for anything. Like I look back on those photos, it's one of those things in life where you're like, nobody could take a bad picture anywhere you look. Anywhere.
It was atmospheric.
Yeah, it was totally. It was like being in like a Christopher Nolan movie or something like that. So I definitely agree with you. And since you took that one, I'll tell you my second favorite on that trip was it in Ketchikan?
Yeah.
The train?
That was in Skagway.
Skagway. The train, I know that Craig, he said that he'd rather take the car and drive up, but, I grew up on a railroad. And so, like, just being able to be on a train like that was really cool. And what was even cooler to me is that you could go out and stand on the outside of the train while it's going up this mountain that takes you all the way up, dips into Canada for a second and turns around. And it was just like... The video, I literally have it on my computer right here because I don't want to ever not have it with me when I want to watch it. And that other video I also keep in that same place is Elaine and I's Glacier Day because I like to sometimes just watch the ice. Like I'll watch that part of it. And I'm so happy that part of my job does involve, the video and things because I do feel like as much work as it can be, and as much as you're like, I've got to film so much and it can be so stressful, is that like when I get the opportunity to be like, I still have a little scrapbook to look back to, the ice is what I think about. The ship, that ice, the glaciers, and that train ride is one I always watch because it was just like the cool air on my face, like listening to the stories about the train, the sound it was making, the way it like rocked back and forth, like seeing the old train bridges, seeing the big bridges, you're coming up to it and it's falling down. You're like, again, you are in a freaking movie. So I feel like the excursions on Alaska cruises are do not miss. And I'm not normally one who likes to book a lot when I'm on vacation because Mama likes to sleep. So I don't like to be overloaded. And so, like, that's where I'm like, that's one where I'd be like, do it all. Chloe, I know you've got one.
I've got 2 actually.
Oh, 2!
Yeah.
Oh, she's violating the rules.
I've got 2.
You might be
I'll be
kicked off
quick.
this-
I'll
might
be quick.
kicked off this
I'll
boat.
be quick. I promise. I'm only doing 2 because I feel like these are a little bit more common itineraries. I would love to go on an Alaskan cruise one day, but I don't have a story like that to share, so I have some FOMO over here. But I have done a lot of Bahamian and Caribbean cruises out of Port Canaveral on Disney Cruise Line, and 2 of my favorites. I'll do one on the Western, which is in Falmouth, Jamaica. Disney Disney, and you can also book independently too, but Disney organizes a group excursion to the Blue Hole, which is this like cascading waterfalls and rocks, and you take a truck ride from the port through Jamaica up to the top of this, I guess, mountain, would you call it? Are they mountains there? Maybe?
You look at me like
yeah,
I know.
I'm looking at
on this
you.
cruise with you.
Okay. Excuse me.
I went there, honey.
But you get to jump off of rocks and diving boards into these really deep
Oh, wow.
blue water holes of water. Like it's beautiful and it's so cool. And the tour guides are really fun. And on the way back on our specific one, they took us to a market and we got to get some coconut and banana rum. So that was always, a nice little cherry on top.
Did you book
but that
it
was
through
beautiful.
Disney Cruise Line?
I did. Yes, I did. That was quite a few years ago, but yeah, I'm pretty sure they still have something available. So the Blue Hole in Jamaica. My next one is like, I feel like I get emotional every time I talk about this next one because I love sea turtles so much. I'm pretty sure they're my favorite animal. And if you visit St. Thomas, Disney has, last time I went to look for this excursion specifically, I don't think Disney has it anymore, but they used to. I did book it through them officially, but you can contact local excursions and they do organize this because it is very early in the morning. And they take you out to Turtle Cove, which is near Buck Island. It's it's a nearby island to St. Thomas, and Buck Island is actually a national wildlife refuge, so you can't actually go to the island, but you can swim in the water surrounding it. And there's a lighthouse there too, I believe, right? Yes, I think so. Anyways,
we weren't there with you.
I know. I'm thinking in my head. I'm sorry, but since you're there early in the morning, there was no other groups there with us when we got into the water. It was just like our boat of 6 people. It was very, very small, but we got into the water and there are sea turtles everywhere and they're just going down. I mean, it was like, I want to say 30 feet deep water. They were going down to the bottom and eating, and then they were coming back up to the surface, and we were of course not allowed to touch them or anything, but they were everywhere all around us. We were just snorkeling and swimming alongside sea turtles, and it was the most magical experience I've ever had on a Disney cruise. So I'm dying to go back to St. Thomas just for that excursion. It was beautiful.
And it is still offered on Disney Cruise Line.
Oh, good. Okay, thank you for
aquatic
checking.
snorkeling with sea turtles, ST86, if people are searching. So
Good. And it goes to Turtle Cove, it says?
It says aquatic snorkeling, blah, blah, blah. I didn't read that far deep into it, but ages 7 to 75. So if you're 76, don't even try. But there you go.
Interesting. Okay.
So
okay. Hopefully it's the same
sounds
one.
super awesome.
Yeah, there were only adults on our excursion. Again, it was like a very small group, so maybe they use a different touring company now.
could be.
But as long as it's early in the morning, that's the key there, because that's when the turtles are feeding and swimming up to the surface and stuff. So.
Yeah, sounds so awesome.
Yeah, it's really
So I'm going to do 3. No, just kidding. I'm going to just mention an Alaska one because it was so awesome. We did helicopter over glaciers, and then we got to land on the glacier, and we did dogs. Got to do the Iditarod dogs around. So cool. But I'm going to do an accessible one as well. And this is one we did on a Western Caribbean cruise. This is something called the Clear Boat. It's in Cozumel. And I don't know about you, but when I was growing up, people would talk about glass bottom boat. And then you'd get on the boat and there's like a little tiny box and you can kind of see down.
Yep.
And this is not my version of a glass bottom boat.
Yeah.
The Clear Boat is a glass. It's glass. Well, it's actually plexiglass, but the whole thing is plexiglass. And I think this is a great one for if you have smaller kids and you're not quite sure if they can snorkel. Again, you can see through the whole boat, and so it feels like you're snorkeling without having to actually be in the water. They do take you out and you get to snorkel, but particularly in Cozumel, where the water is so crystal clear, it's so awesome. And it's a great, and the staff who were on this excursion were fantastic. It picks you up right at the dock there at Cozumel, so you don't have to go anyplace. You don't have to trek your kids for a huge distance. It was really, really a magical day that we spent in Cozumel, and so it's called the Clear Boat, and highly recommend. So
Awesome.
I do have a random question about that. Is the whole bottom of the boat clear, or is it just like a portion of it?
not only the whole bottom of the whole boat is
Wow.
made out of plexiglass. So you can see out the sides, you can see out.
That's cool.
It is really, really awesome. As I say, and it wasn't that expensive.
So the fish and the wildlife that is swimming under you is just seeing a bunch of flat butts.
I know. I was just thinking like
they're
the
seeing
view
the
up,
bottom
yeah.
of your bare feet is what they're seeing.
That's how they talk about touching the butt in
Yeah,
Finding
exactly.
Nemo. You know.
Oh, it's literal.
Well, thank you, everybody. I think on that note, this will be the butt of the show. Boom, nailed it. Thank you, everybody who submitted their questions out there. I'm sure we'll do more of these because, honestly, the show is designed to help you have the best cruise line vacation that we can have, and one of those ways is going through Dreams Unlimited Travel. All these agents here like Chris or Elaine are there to help you. I'm realizing that I haven't asked you in a little while. If somebody wanted to book a cruise vacation with you, how would they go about doing that, Elaine?
The easiest and quickest way is just to go straight to dreamsunlimitedtravel.com. And from there, we have links. You'll be able to choose where you want to go, your date, all of that stuff. And then if you have a specific agent that you've worked with before, or if not, if you want to choose Chris or I, you can actually select our names from the agent drop-down box. If you want to try somebody new, you don't have to choose a name at all, and somebody will get back to you super fast, and they'll help you book your trip.
Awesome. Very good. Awesome. Thank you for that information. I should probably have asked you that in the other couple shows. But people, if you don't know by now, it's simple. Leave comments on the videos or things like that. So thank you for having this conversation with me. Thank you, everybody out there in the internet, for listening or watching. If you are watching this on YouTube, please make sure that you hit the thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. And if you click that little bell button, you're going to get notified whenever we publish any sort of content on here, because we also have some Disney related, Universal related, a little bit of everything in here to help you plan some fun vacations. If you are listening to this, please feel free to rate and review podcasts wherever you listen to that. That would be very helpful. Appreciate it. And don't forget about Dreams Unlimited Travel when booking that next cruise vacation. And remember, like we said before, dreamsunlimitedtravel.com, free, no obligation quote. If you're just like, I want to know what some prices are, I want to know some of this stuff, I'm just starting to think about it, don't be stressed. Let them help you out over there. So thank you again, and bon voyage, everybody.